You have to perform. This is what being a man is about. The baseline of masculinity is doing things you don't feel like doing. The thing that makes a good man a man is that he does what he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to work and he works anyway. He doesn't want to go to war and he fights anyway. He doesn't want to get up. He gets up anyway. That's the whole point of it. We didn't want to die in the Titanic. Guess what happened? We died in the Titanic.
People often ask me, especially when I put up a picture on Instagram, how I'm in such good shape. Say, how are you in such good shape when all you do is travel the world and drink alcohol and smoke cigars?
The idea
barely
of
go
it.
to the gym. And I say that I train in my sleep, and they call me crazy because I can lucidly dream, because I can control my dreams, which is another podcast in and of itself. I train in my dreams. I convince my mind that I've trained. I convince my mind that I need to be ready for war, and my body reacts accordingly. It is the ideas that are real. What do they say in the Matrix? The body cannot exist without the mind. It's the ideas that are real. An idea in and of itself is real enough. If you remember a dream the same way you remember a real event, they are basically the same. My body proves that because I do most of my training as I sleep.
So lucid dreaming is basically, I don't know if anyone's here has had a dream that you realize is a dream and then you can control it. Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
So you're in a dream and then you go, for me personally, I'll be in a dream and something will happen and I go, that doesn't make sense. Oh, wait, I'm dreaming. And then I can fly and shit. Now, usually I can only do it for like a minute or two in dream time. You know, time is a bit different in dreams until the dream ends. And I usually wake up where the dream ends. So it's kind of annoying because sometimes I'll be in a dream and I'll realize it's a dream and I'll start doing some shit. And then I'll also consciously know that I'm running out of time before the dream ends. It's weird. So that's how I dream. So the way I do that, and when I say that I use my dreams to calculate things, is because if you're ever heartbroken or upset or you're really worried or stressed, you might dream about the problem. So I do that consciously. If I have a problem in my life or something I have to worry about or be concerned about, I'll try and make sure I dream about it. And then in the dream, I know I'm in a dream. And it's basically dedicating time of my life, dedicating the time I was sleeping to solving a problem or dealing with a problem. How many amazing songs have been written in a dream? Or how many scientific, discoveries were from dreams? Look up discoveries from dreams. The number of scientists who woke up and go, bang, it came to me in my sleep, it came to me in my dream, because you're obsessed with a problem and your mind works it out at rest. So the key to lucid dreaming is this. You have to try and remember your last thought before you fall asleep. And I know that sounds easy, but think about last night when you went to sleep. Your eyes were closed. You were thinking of this, then you were thinking of this, then you were thinking of this, and then you were half awake because you kind of heard a noise and you felt the covers on you, but you weren't asleep, but you weren't awake. But what were you thinking of? Kind of nothing. You have to remember the exact last thought you had before you went to sleep. And it's harder to do than you think, because when you start doing that, you start turning your brain on to focus and then you can't sleep. So you have to do it like Zen. You have to just Zen go, I'm going to sleep, but I'm going to keep track. Right now I'm thinking of this dumb shit. Okay, now I'm thinking of that dumb shit. And sequentially in order, remember all the things you're thinking about until you remember the last thing you thought about before you went to sleep. When I started learning how to do that, there on out, about 70% of the times I would dream, it would be lucid. And I genuinely, even to this day, I'll be in a dream doing whatever. And I'll lift up a cat and go, that has no weight. This is a dream. Okay, this is a dream. So I'll just float through this wall quickly. Where's Tristan? Or me go on the computer, and I'll just control it for like 2 minutes. It's weird, but it happens by remembering what you're thinking about before you fall asleep. And if you actually genuinely think about that task and think about now when you go to sleep, you'll be trying to do it and you'll realize I'm thinking a bunch of bullshit, or I'm thinking of a memory, or I'm half remembering something, that your mind kind of falls apart a little bit as you fall asleep. If you can keep track of it, you can control your dreams. And for me, if I ever have a genuine real issue, I can literally say I'll deal with it. I'll think about that later when I'm sleeping. I know it sounds stupid, but it's true. I would accredit it to my success when I was kickboxing. I believe that if my brain synapse is firing, it must have, for X action, it must have a positive reflection on that action. If my X synapse, if the synapse in my brain is firing to slip a jab in a particular way, and my brain is firing, even if my body isn't moving, but my brain is firing to slip that jab, I believe that on a long enough time scale of my brain imagining me doing something repeatedly over and over and over again, I'm going to be better at doing that action, even if my body doesn't reflect. So when I say I train in my dreams, that's exactly what I mean. I would train, I imagine slipping punches in my dreams and how I would do it. And although my body wasn't doing the thing because I was asleep, but my synapses were firing the same. And I believe that had a positive impact and a positive effect. That can't be proved, but I believe it. And if I believe it, that also gives it power.
There's so much work for you to do as a man. I don't know how people I barely sleep, and I never not work, and I never lay in. I'm never lazy. And I don't understand how people don't work all of the time. And when I say that, people say, but work on what? I don't know what to work on. Bro, You need 10 passports. You need 25 bank accounts. You need shell companies. You need a trust fund. You need to make some money. You then need to move that money away. You need multiple places to live. You need a place for your children to live. They need a trust fund. You have stuff to do.
Yep.
And people are just sitting around doing nothing. It's mind boggling to me. And there are some people who you just can't help. There is a huge percentage of the populace which they're beyond saving because they're the worst thing you can possibly be, which is a quitter. Being a quitter is the worst thing you can possibly be. God himself can't make a quitter important because the only reason the place you're trying to get to has value is because it was difficult to reach. If everybody could reach it, there'd be no value. Value is linked to scarcity. The whole point gold is valuable is because it's not everywhere. If it was everywhere, it wouldn't have any value. The reason the place you're trying to reach is valuable is because people can't get there. So if you're the kind of person who quits, you're never going to get there. Quitters are the worst. You could give a quitter a map, a treasure map, and a hot air balloon and say, it's going to take you right to the treasure. It's going to be a 7-day journey. Here's a sandwich.
Yeah.
And halfway through, they'll be like, oh, I'm cold.
Yeah. You just said that, 7 days now.
Yeah. And they'll quit.
Yeah.
Quitters will never make it. And there's a huge subsect of the populace who are basically simply quitters. I've never in my life seen anyone who's determined to get something not get it. I've never seen somebody who is determined in their heart to get something not get it. The universe and God is so giving and providing. People think it's difficult out here. I disagree. I've never seen someone wake up and say, nah, this is all I care about. This is all I want. Not get it. Everyone who thought that way in fighting was a world champion. Everyone who thought that way about money was rich. I've never seen anyone fail. Bro, I've seen people with no credit score and no job determined to get an R8 manage to get one on finance somehow. I've seen it. If it's all you want, you're going to get it.
You're going to find a way to
You're going to find a way.
Yeah.
People go, oh, I want this. If you wanted it, you'd have it.
Literally, I spoke to a man who had done a podcast recently, and he was saying if someone had a gun to your children's head and said to you, the only way I'm going to move this gun is by you making $1 million, you are going to make $1 million.
100%.
Yeah.
You're going to be motivated for the first time in your life. People often say, if you try your best, it's okay to fail. But what they don't understand, the true secret to the universe is that if you try your best, you never fail.
Yeah.
I can't stop myself working as a person who doesn't need money. And then there's people with no money who don't work. It blows my mind, which is why the winners are winners and the losers are losers. Losers do a little bit of work and rest. Winners work as hard as possible and worry they're not working hard enough. It's just a separation of personality types. And it's almost like you can't save these people. I have something I sent in my email recently. I said, you could give the average man a brand new Ferrari and a road map and a coffee and a full tank of gas and tell him the destination, success. And halfway along the drive, he'll quit because it's too far. No matter how well you set it up for people, they'll quit. Then they say, this is what's another thing that's amazing to me about motivation. I don't feel motivated. Newsflash, neither do I sometimes. You're not going to always feel like doing it. You have to do it anyway because it's your duty to do it because you don't want to be a loser. That's the whole point. If you felt like doing it all the time, then there would be no magic to it. The magic is that you do it regardless of how you feel.
How do you stay motivated when you're like, I'm a man?
A day of work in 10 years. I've never had a day off. Maybe I've had days where I've gone driving the supercars and I've only done 2 hours work instead of 8 hours. I've never had a day where I thought, okay, I'm not going to work. Never once ever. My screen time on my phone is 9 hours a day, every day. I do not miss a day of work ever. If I'm the most viral Googled man on the earth, it does not change a fucking thing. I am working. Earth must be conquered. The matrix must be attacked and shattered. I do not stop. I will not quit. I will not surrender. I am not that person. I have zero interest in rest or respite. It's bullshit for cowards. Even the idea of resting aggravates my mind. So what I'm supposed to do this? Wait, let me practice.
Sure.
Yeah, that sucks.
No, but is there...
Sucks.
Bro, I got shit to do. I can't even contemplate the idea. People say to me, if I had your money, Tate, I'd just go chill. That's why you'll never have my money, dummy.
Well, here's
you
my
just want to go
question
do
to that,
nothing.
though.
I don't want to do nothing. I want to do shit.
A lot of teens or young people or even adults, they're suffering from a lot of mental health issues.
Okay.
And what's your advice to them?
The world is hyper competitive. If you're going to be a man who's going to sit and say, I'm just sad, you are always going to lose in competition to men like me. No. And there has to be losers for there to be winners. I am tired of sympathy. Sympathy doesn't work for anybody. I'm not going to sit here and be sympathetic for people who say they're too sad to try hard and be their best. Guess what? Perhaps I was sad every time I did exactly what I was supposed to do and trained anyway. Perhaps I was afraid when I fought anyway. Perhaps I was tired when I worked anyway. This is how you get ahead in life. I don't have an ounce of sympathy for these people who sit here and say, well, I feel this way, so I can't. Then don't do it. Stay down there. The winners are at the top, and the winners at the top don't give a shit about how they feel. We wake up and we perform regardless of how we feel day after day. So if I'm going to ignore my own feelings, I'm certainly not going to take into consideration anybody else's. Yeah. Why am I going to ignore how I feel and make sure I'm constantly performing regardless, flawlessly, and then sit and go, oh, but he doesn't feel good, so he's allowed to fuck up. No, you are not. You're not allowed to fuck up to your ancestors or to God or to yourself. You have to perform. This is what being a man is about. The baseline of masculinity is doing things you don't feel like doing. I can't comment on being a woman because I'm not one. But the baseline of masculinity as a whole is the thing that makes a good man a man is that he does what he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to work and he works anyway. He doesn't want to go to war and he fights anyway. He doesn't want to get up. He gets up anyway. That's the whole point of it. We didn't want to die in the Titanic. Guess what happened? We died in the Titanic. You can't sit there as a man and say you don't feel like it. You're not allowed to not feel like it. You're supposed to do it anyway, regardless. Yeah. So when a man sits there and says, oh, but you don't understand, I'm struggling with motivation. If you are struggling with the motivation to be a winner, then stay a fucking loser. No problem. Stay a loser. Don't care. Because in my circle, there's no losers around me. Your energy is disgusting. I find it revolting. I don't like weakness around me, even near me. Even people coming up saying hello to me. If you're depressed, don't even shake my hand. I do not have time for losers on any regard. Winners only.
What started that fire inside early on, or did it kind of just develop through time and get hotter and hotter?
Well, I think everybody has a fire inside of them, but it's pacified. It's deliberately extinguished by society because one, the matrix wants you docile, which is the first thing. And second thing is people live lives of comfort. A lot of people, I think all men are born with a masculine desire to conquer Earth. And I think you're only going to be happy if you're conquering. But if you're living a semi-comfortable life and your mother is nice to you and you're not under any pressure and the matrix is telling you it's fine to just be average, well, then you're going to be sitting there being average. I was never comforted. I was never given an easy life. I never had anyone in my life who was saying, don't worry, Andrew, it's okay to just be this guy. I was told the opposite all the time. I don't know if the fire inside of me is any bigger than it is inside of every other man. And I think that every man at home watching this, if they don't have the things they want in life, should feel a degree of resentment towards themselves or disappointment, understanding that they have the same desire and drive that I have. They just allowed themselves to be psyoped out of it. They've allowed the matrix or whoever to convince them it's okay to not be the man they could be. And I never allowed anybody to do that to me.
When I was 15, my first job was carrying boxes of fish from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. And I would run to work. So I'd leave the house at 6. I'd run an hour. I'd get there at 7. I'd finish work at 5. And then I'd run from there to the fight gym, get to the fight gym. I'd get there early before training started. I'd eat food next to the gym and then I'd train and then I would get a ride home from my girlfriend at the time. So my entire life was 17 hours a day of just running and working and carrying boxes and fighting. The answer to everything has always been raw action. My dad had a tweet about this. He said that raw action solves all. And he used to say this. I'll give you an example. If you're a farmer and you need rain for your crop and there's no rain, you can sit there and say there's no rain. We're all going to starve. Or you can stand up and do a rain dance. Now, will your rain dance work? Perhaps not. Perhaps the rain won't come. But I would argue that you're better off standing up doing that rain dance than just sitting there waiting to die. You have to do something. Raw action solves. So when I was broke, I was never like, I'm poor. What do I do? It was, I'm poor. I have to do something. If I was broke, I'd go for a run. That's why I was such a great fighter. If I was broke, I'd sit there and go, I'm actually poor. How do I make money? Don't know. Where can I get some cash? Don't know. What work can I do? Don't know. I'll just go for a run then. And I just go for 3-mile run or go hit the punch bag and get better.
This resonates so deeply, man. This is exactly what I did.
That's exactly. You just have to say, well, I have to do something. I can't just sit still and die. A lot of people are happy to just sit still and die or jerk off and go to sleep and take a nap. Well, if that's what you want to do, then you can say a loser. That's fine. I'm glad there are losers because if everyone had Lamborghinis, my Lamborghini wouldn't be fun to show off. I need you to look at it and feel the deep pain in your heart of regret and failure. That's the whole point of it.
I feel like we live in a world where there's not enough action. There's a lot of people who know things, all talk, but they're all talk. There's not enough action. They don't do anything. So we need to get some action moving. So we're going to begin this with some action. And I want you guys to understand something about every single decision you make in life. Every single decision you make in life is a pivoting point upon which you can embark
on two different journeys. E.g., you decide if you want to jerk off or not.
Okay. This is an important one. This is a pivotal moment that many of you face daily, multiple times daily for some of you.
Jerk off, J.O. You can go yes or you can go no, but these two paths lead in completely different directions. You'll lead a completely different and new life depending on the decision you make. There's yes path and there's no path, and they're brand new lives. So the action we're going to try and inspire from you right now here early on is going to embark you down one of two paths. You're either going to take action and live the yes life, or you're going to sit around and do nothing like you've done for most of your human existence and live the no life.
And me as a man, when I put myself through hell, when I have had such exacting, such stringent standards for myself, why would I then have less exacting, stringent standards on the people I meet? Why would I put myself through hell to be me and then meet someone who didn't put themselves through hell and then treat them like my equal? No, f*** you. I suffered when you didn't. So you're not my equal because you decided not to suffer. You have enjoyed comfort when I haven't, and that's fine, but don't expect me to look at you as my equal because you're not. I'll snap your neck. I think that as humans, especially as men, we only learn the hard way anyway. There's two ways to learn a lesson, the hard way and the hardest way. There's no easy way to learn a lesson. You have to learn the hard way. So God gives us lessons via difficulty. He thinks you need to learn this about yourself or this about other people. So I'm going to give you a difficult time so you can learn your lesson. Because if I told you, if I just said, hey, Andrew, this is how the world works, you go, yeah. But when I show you, when you feel it, my fight coach used to say, you have to feel it to believe it. There's a lot of people who complain about the bad things that happen in their life, not understanding that without the bad things, you'd have no life at all. You need all of the bad things. You need the mental struggle. You need to go through things which you regret. You need to sit there so that if you've never regretted any action you've ever taken, how can you sit and make a intelligent decision for the future? You can't do it. You need to sit and say, well, I felt the sting of regret for X. I don't want to feel the sting of regret for Y. You need this experience. And that's what life is all about. People think that life is just the good times. And this is the massive misconception. But they say you should have no interest in what people think about you. That makes you insecure. And that is the largest psyop in history, to wake up and say, I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to be strong. I'm not going to be interesting. I'm not going to go out there and test myself. And I'm not going to put honor on my last name because I would hate for people to think I'm insecure. I'm secure. So it doesn't matter if you think I'm a loser, and it doesn't matter if I am a loser because I'm just going to sit at home and I'm secure. No, it's not insecurity. It's called duty to your last name and honor. And that's just another one of the many different tentacles inside of the psyop octopus, trying to snatch any motivation left from the masculine spirit.
So Andrew, you're a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
You also have crypto.
Yep.
You also invest in different investments.
Yeah.
So for someone that's a young person coming up,
yeah,
what is the best piece of advice you can give to them to make it to be successful?
Right. So if someone were to say to me from absolute ground zero, how to get rich?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's a good question. So I would say do two things. The first thing I would say you should do is develop a phone addiction. And you should develop a phone addiction, but you should refuse to consume content and only create content.
Genius.
So it doesn't, I will say right here, right now, I have a genuine phone addiction.
Me too.
9-10 hours a day screen time.
Me too.
I live on my phone. I'm on my phone. That's where the money is. That's what the is.
Facts.
So where else am I going to be? Right? I'm on my phone. You see me. I'm always just on my phone, right? I have a phone addiction, but I'm not consuming a bunch of crap, right? I'm producing on my Twitter account. I'm constantly tweeting. Doesn't matter if it's just tweets. Doesn't matter if it's TikToks. Doesn't matter if it's YouTube videos. Produce. Yep. If you spend all those waking hours producing, eventually people will pay attention to you.
Yes.
And we live in an attention economy.
Yep.
This is the economy we now live in. It's no longer about competence like it used to be. It's not even so much, it's about attention and it's about network. It's those two things. It's who you know and it's how many people pay attention to you. So if you develop a phone addiction and you refuse to consume and you only create, you'll start to attract attention sooner or later. Mm-hmm. And when you can do that, there's usually lots of different ways to monetize it.
If we were still in the animal kingdom, the lions that you see on TV, they weren't just born big lions. They had to fight other lions. They had to fight to get that antelope. They had to fight other animals, hyenas, jackals. They had to fight to be the boss. We're living in a comfortable world now where people think, oh, it doesn't matter. But you know what? To some degree, it does matter. It does matter. And I'm going to tell you who it matters to. It matters to your soul and it matters to God. I stand in the mirror with a pure heart I know I am the best version of me that could possibly ever exist. I know that God is proud of me. There's nothing that God hates more than sloth and laziness. If God were to create a man and that man were to sit around and do all, God will frown upon you. It's why you're never lucky. If you're listening to this and you think I'm never lucky, I'll tell you why, because God dislikes you because you're lazy. Start to work. Start to show God the beauty of his own creations. You'd be amazed how lucky you'll become. Could be, and I'm not happy with who it is. And I think that every man should be like that, so he gets up off his ass and does something. I learned my mindset in battle. My mindset is 87 professional fights. My mindset was learned in the reality of the real world.
Yeah. Your winner, fighting out of the blue corner from the USA, Andrew the King Cobra Tate!
I don't know if the fire inside of me is any bigger than it is inside of every other man. And I think that every man at home watching this, if they don't have the things they want in life, should feel a degree of resentment towards themselves or disappointment, understanding that they have the same desire and drive that I have. Mm-hmm. They just allowed themselves to be psyoped out of it. I don't believe in the societal paradigms in which they have tried to construct this idea of happiness. I don't believe or subscribe to the way that happy and sad is currently understood by the masses of the population. My mindset is 87 professional fights. My mindset was learned in the reality of the real world. Yeah. I don't need to read a self-help book. I don't need to read about motivation or confidence. I think if you're anything less than absolutely distraught, you are happy. You're a version of happy. It's like saying gray is a version of black, right? No matter how light the gray is, you can still call it a version of black. And unless you've gone through an event, which hopefully doesn't happen too often, like the passing of a family member or something that's truly destructive and detrimental to your mindset. Besides these events, which hopefully only happen a few times in your life, you should be happy. If you're not crying or paralyzed in silence due to the absolute magnitude of a detrimental circumstance or the absolute magnitude of a negative event, then you are a version of happy. So I am always happy is the short answer. I don't believe in not being happy. I don't believe in not saying to myself I'm happy. I'm always a version of happy. And this idea of chasing happiness and always being concerned and preoccupied with how happy you are is actually the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, I think, in the world today. Especially men who wake up and go, I don't really feel happy, so I need to get happier. And that's how they end up down a hedonistic path of drugs or alcohol or gambling, chasing pleasure. I don't care how I feel. Yeah. I don't care if I feel happy or sad. It doesn't really affect what I do each day. I do the exact same things. I act the exact same way. I don't care. Yeah. I don't put weight to the significance of the emotion. So I always consider myself a happy person, but if I woke up and I was slightly less happy one day than another, it wouldn't affect anything I do and I wouldn't put any relevance to it. I'm human and that's life. And so, am I any happier now that I have hundreds of millions of dollars than before I was broke? Yeah. Not really, but I was never unhappy. I'm the same state that I was then that I am now. I have work to do and I will do it. It's as simple as that. But also there's no light without dark. And there's no joy without pain. You can't have a rainbow without a little rain. Exactly. And no matter how hard you chase pleasure and happiness, there's going to be dips and troughs in between. There's going to be come downs and downtrends. And you're going to have the juxtaposition between that time you were laughing your head off and acting giddish like a child and the time that you feel depressed as such. And I think it's much better to just adopt a very disciplined, stoic mindset. I'm always the same base level of happy regardless. If I lost all of my money today, I would be the same happy. Mm-hmm. If my net worth quadrupled, I'd be the same happiness. Yeah. As long as I am alive, which is a struggle, unfortunately, in the current climate, but as long as I'm alive and the people I care about and love are alive, and as long as God gives me the honor of doing my duties and providing for the people I care about, as long as I get to wake up and know that there's a whole bunch of people in the world who need me and I get to work hard to please them and do good for society and good for the world, then I'm a vessel of God, and I'm happy enough to survive. That's all I look at it as. I don't ever consider how do I feel. That doesn't cross my mind. I have things to do. I have things to do.
You're too busy to think about that.
I'm too busy. I have things to do every single day. I have very important things to do, and how I feel really is not going to affect how I complete those tasks.
Right.
And when I speak to men, they say I'm unhappy or I need to be happier. I think that's absolutely the wrong frame of life. You're a man, you have duty, you have honor, you have things you should be doing regardless of how you feel. And the people who are perma-obsessed with happiness or sadness, I just think it's the wrong paradigm to view the lens of life. I think you should get up and do what needs to be done. I learned my mindset in battle. My mindset is 87 professional fights. My mindset was learned in the reality of the real world. I don't need to read a self-help book. I don't need to read about motivation or confidence. I've been in the cage smashing people's faces in. I don't need to learn any of that stuff. So I learned in reality, and reality is always going to be a better teacher than a book, because you're not learning when you read books. You're regurgitating. You may be reading, but I don't believe you're truly learning. My coach used to say, if it doesn't hurt, you didn't learn. And I think he's completely right. And it's the same with entire life. You see people make the same mistake over and over again until it eventually goes really wrong. Yeah. And it's only then they'll change.
Then they change.
So absolutely. Yeah. So I learned how to become self-disciplined and become self-motivated and work hard. And I learned how to face adversity and find strength within myself I didn't know I had, because people were trying to kill me inside of a cage. I think as a young man, if you want to get your life better, the most important thing you have are your waking hours. You need to be out competing all the other people on the planet who are hyper competitive. And if you think you have 8 hours to sit there and just read a book, you are wasting your time. You are too slow, and you are going to lose against people like me, because we're just too quick. Too fast. Our networks are too various and large, and we make decisions too quickly, and we absorb information too quickly, and you're just behind it. I understood from a young age I had to stick up for myself and defend my ideas, and my ideas were always different, and I was always an outcast, I guess, to a degree, and that certainly played a part later on in my life, because it's been very easy for me to look at the programming the Matrix is trying to push down my throat and just say no. Dad had his own philosophies. We definitely never read any philosophical books. We didn't study any old philosophers, but he'd say things now, which you can even still see his Twitter. If you want to see a philosopher, you can go through his Twitter now and see all of the things he was saying when he was still alive. Yeah. But I think life is actually pretty simple. There's action and reaction. There's cause and effect. There's brave people and there's cowards. A lot of people are self-interested. And if you understand the basis of these motivations, it's not difficult to work out why the world functions the way it does. And cause and effect and action and reaction are very real. And I think one of the largest plagues we have in the world today is a lack of action amongst people. And deciding not to act is an action in and of itself, right? And that's the only philosophy you need for life. If you want something to move, you have to move it. If you sit and wait for somebody else to move it, you're a coward. And you're just hoping it's going to happen. And that's why I don't understand when a lot of people who see where the world is going and see the future that's going to be laid out for their children kind of just hope and pray. A lot of people, I think all men are born with a masculine desire to conquer Earth. And I think you're only going to be happy if you're conquering. But if you're living a semi-comfortable life and your mother is nice to you and you're not under any pressure and the Matrix is telling you it's fine to just be average, well, then you're going to be sitting there being average. I was never comforted. I was never given an easy life. I never had anyone in my life who was saying, don't worry, Andrew, it's okay to just be this guy. I was told the opposite all the time. I don't know if the fire inside of me is any bigger than it is inside of every other man. And I think that every man at home watching this, if they don't have the things they want in life, should feel a degree of resentment towards themselves or disappointment, understanding that they have the same desire and drive that I have. They just allowed themselves to be psyoped out of it. They've allowed the Matrix or whoever to convince them it's okay to not be the man they could be. And I never allowed anybody to do that to me. I know that I'm right because the way I think allows me to be correct in every scenario I've ever been in. I know when someone's going to hurt me. I know when my time's almost up. I know how to make a bunch of money. I know all of it. I've never been wrong about anything. Every time I've ever been truly sad, again, it was beneficial for me to feel that way. And yes, there was a point when that was semi-conscious, and now it's not conscious at all. If I start to feel angry, it's not conscious. I am angry completely and utterly, and I trust my body and my spirit that I'm supposed to be angry, and I'm supposed to act within that frame. And that's what true enlightenment is, because
thinking outside of it and being conscious of it is good, but it takes time. And often, in the most extreme scenarios of life, the one thing you will not have is very much time. There has to be instant and complete decisions, and there has to be final scenarios, what's the word I'm looking for? Consequences. The bad things that are happening to you are what you need to become the man that you want to be. I can't talk about women because I'm not one. I actually think trauma is terrible for women because it masculinizes them. They become cold, and that's not attractive, right? We want feminine, pure, protected women. I don't want a woman to ever go through anything bad in her life. I think a man should go through it for her and protect her, because I think that's how she's her best self as a woman. But I think to be your best self as a man is the absolute opposite. And when someone emails me and says, "This has happened to me," I'm like, good. No, what do you mean good? It's terrible. How else are you going to become important? How else are you going to find endless fire to get up and struggle in the face of the competition that's out here in the world? How else are you're going to do all that with a nice, cushy life? If any man's honest with himself, think about the biggest transformative stages in your life. Think about the times you got the most work done. It was a bad part of your life. You were heartbroken, or, you lost a house, or broke, or whatever. That's when you did shit. When everything was fine, when the woman's still sucking dick, the mortgage is paid, dinner's on time, it's kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo, little by little, do a little bit of work, do a little bit of relax. But the big events come from trauma. This is it. So it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code to climb the mountain. So when I get a message from whoever and he goes, "My wife left me, I'm devastated," I say, I understand. I completely understand how hard it can be to lose a woman that you've given your entire life to. And you've done so many nice things. And then because of one thing you did, her innate and absolutely insane level of ungratefulness has turned her bitter, and she now talks to you like she hates you over one thing you've done after thousands of efforts showing how dedicated you are to her. And even now that you're prepared to die for her, she doesn't give a shit about you. I understand that pain. But my answer is, good. It's still good. Now take all of that pain, and instead of emailing me, do this. And then you're going to become the kind of person that women don't leave. Then you win.
I'm ready to kill. I don't do this for fun. This is not sports, man. I don't enjoy it. I hate training. I hate fighting. This is war. I was born for this. I have no choice. I'm in there to kill. That's it. Pain. That's all I know.
So, for someone to come along and try and convince me that my mental model and my way of viewing the world is inaccurate, it's going to be extremely difficult, because I'm going to sit and say, well, my mental model produces X to this accuracy, and you're a dumbass. So what can you predict, my friend? And that's the reality of the world. So my stories are being told, the lessons of them at least, when I'm speaking. Yes, I am misunderstood. I'm misunderstood because the things I say are a large web of nuanced, and they're interlinked. And if you take one individual part from the web, then completely I understand how some things can be massively misunderstood. I also understand that most people have no interest in the truth and no interest in digging deeper and finding out the truth about a person or a scenario. If you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can think, and you're not trying your absolute best, that's the reason you're not lucky. He doesn't like you. He likes the people which show him the beauty of his own creation. He likes to give somebody building blocks and them to build something amazing. It's the best thing about being a man. You get to build who you are, right? You can decide if you want to be a funny comedian or a musician or a kickboxing world champion or fight the Matrix. You can decide whatever you want to be. God loves to see that. Those people, for some reason, seem to be enormously lucky, right? The person who goes, I don't have to prove anything to God. I don't owe all of my ancestors any effort. For 5,000 years, people were dodging saber-toothed tigers and catching the plague and running from Genghis Khan just for my stupid ass to be born. I don't owe them anything. I don't owe them a thing because I want to play video games. These people are fucking losers. You should walk through Earth with force inside of you. As I walked into this hotel reception, everybody looked. Not because they know who I am, but because as I move, even if it's behind their head, people feel something and they go, it's an energy that comes from brutal competence. It's almost like an evolutionary thing where a rabbit can just smell a fox. It just knows. That's what happens when a predator walks in a room, even amongst humans. You pay attention next time you're in a restaurant. If a man who's truly dangerous walks in, nearly every other man kind of looks up at the same time. You feel it. You need to or you don't survive. We've evolved with that to live. That's who I am. I couldn't imagine not being that man. I've done that because I've been trying to prove myself to my lineage my entire life. I wake up every day with something to prove. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I wake up and think, fuck, more. I'm in fantastic shape, 4 times world champion. Fighting the Matrix out here by myself, more. I will have to be braver. I must try harder. All I do is prove myself. So when I hear people go, I don't have nothing to prove, then you're a fucking loser. Peasants have never felt like they needed to prove anything. But kings felt like they needed to go and conquer land. Isn't that it's coincidental that the king, who already had it all, felt like he needed to go to some far-flung land and conquer it and take it and prove he's the king. But the peasants, oh, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. You're a fucking loser then. You're a dummy. I absolutely and utterly, completely have everything to prove to everybody all of the time. That's who I am. I will prove anything to anybody. If I sit and say X, I will prove it to anyone. I can be checked at any time. If someone would have come up to me in that lobby and argued with my ideas, I would have proved that my ideas are sound. If they would have attacked me, I would have destroyed them completely and absolutely. That's who I am. So yes, I have a lot to prove, my friend. And until the day I die, it will remain. And this is the true height of the slave mind. If you can convince somebody to have a strong emotional reaction about a subject they don't even understand, imagine the level of slave these people are. Imagine if every time you saw the color red, you just lost your mind. You're a slave. You're controlled. Every single time I've been furiously angry or even in a murderous rage, it's been a very appropriate time to be so. And I don't mean appropriate because of the reasoning. I'm not saying I had a good reason to be angry. I'm saying that it was the best decision at the time. Every time I've ever been truly sad, again, it was beneficial for me to feel that way. There are times in life when murderous rage is the best possible option on the table. There are times in life where if you're genuinely threatened, the best possible emotion you can feel is murderous rage, right? There's times when it's appropriate. There's times when it's good to be sad, and there's times when it's good to be empathetic, and there's times when it's good to be ruthlessly psychopathically cold. So I think enlightenment is making sure that your brain and soul and spirit are trained in a way that the emotions you feel at any given time are the best possible card in the deck. Of all the options you have in the playbook, depending on the scenario, your own spirit gives you the exact perfect way to feel to handle that scenario in the most effective and compendious way possible.
I knew I needed to become successful and become a kickboxer and get money. And I knew all of these things from a very young age. And I remember being 17, 18, seeing a Ferrari on the street and being like, fuck, I need to get one of them. I just kind of knew inside. Mm-hmm. And I knew it, and it's worked out for me. That's all great. But now I use hypergamia against women completely because I know that they'd rather share an alpha than have 100% of a beta.
Right.
I know that even though they may sleep with me and then cry their eyes out the next day because I'm with some other girl, but I know they're not going to leave. If you always have a higher purpose, then a woman can never truly control you, and she can never truly destroy you, and your frame can't be broken. If I had to go train for a fight and the girl was complaining, well, then she can fuck off and leave because I ain't getting my ass kicked for nobody. Not you or no one else. I have to go fight in front of 10,000 people, so I don't care if it's your birthday. I'm going to the fucking gym.
I don't care. Put someone in front of me. Put someone in front of me. That's all I have to say.
Do I enjoy training? No. Do I enjoy cutting weight? No. Am I nervous? Yes. Do I think to myself, what am I doing? Yes. Completely. Unfortunately, it's one of those things you're either born with or you're not. And the only way I can explain it to try and make it make any sense is that if I'm not doing something which is either extremely difficult or extremely stressful, I'm in a perpetual state of crippling boredom. I can't explain it. I see other people live their lives and they're like, oh, I can't wait for the weekend because I want to watch this movie. I think, who cares about a movie? You're looking forward to the weekend for a movie? Looking forward to the weekend to get drunk? Like, these things to me are so mundane. They mean nothing. And if I don't fight, if I'm not in a situation where I'm stressed or worried or concerned, I'm just perpetually bored. And boredom's crippling. If you're an intelligent person and you've got a good brain on your shoulders, you can't just sit there bored, you know? So most smart people take the academic route to avoid boredom, and they learn, but that's never really interested me either. Although I've always been an intelligent guy and I've always done well academically, it never really interested me. And then I see people climb Mount Everest or jump off buildings or do base jumping, or the guy who jumped from space. People think, what's he doing? He's crazy. I understand. Because some people can't live normal lives. Some people cannot just function 9 to 5 office job, get drunk at the weekends. That is not for some individuals, and it's not for me. So I have to find something which keeps me physically tired enough to stop me going AWOL, and mentally tired enough. And I've chosen fighting, because without this, when I'm not in training, I wake up every day and think, okay, what am I gonna do today? It's 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, I'm bored, everyone's at work, I'm bored, and I'll end up doing something crazy. I'll either end up drunk, or on the Eurostar, or, you know, it's just a random lifestyle, because I'm constantly looking for never-ending entertainment, and it doesn't exist. I think the only thing that could stop me fighting is if I had enough money to constantly entertain myself. Unless I'm a billionaire, I need something that keeps me focused and keeps me occupied in life. With fighting, I have to train twice a day, and I have to train hard, and the stress it brings in every aspect can replace fun, and my mind is occupied. It occupies me. It's the only way I can try and explain it. It occupies me, and I could never stop doing this even if I lost 100 fights, because I'm not built to live a normal existence. I can't do it. I couldn't just have a kid with some girl and sit at home and work a little bit and relax. I've never relaxed my entire life. I don't know what relaxing is. It's just not me.
So I always had a higher purpose, and that allowed me naturally to build a frame where I learned that it's better to never submit, and that relationships are happier if I never submitted. So I always kind of had that. So I kind of learned everything I knew by just being preoccupied with something completely separate. And it was something that took a lot of my time and 100% of my concentration. So that's kind of where I learned my frame. And now even when I stopped fighting, my frame's the same. I believe the most miserable existence on earth is living a life pretending to be something you're not. I really believe it. And that's why I don't for a second hide what I do or apologize to anybody. If you look at what I do and it offends you, the hate is inside of you. The hate ain't inside of me. You need to go look in the mirror and deal with your own problem. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. And I'm the same with women. If you get with me and then you start complaining about how I am, you better fucking leave, because I'm
like women try and say, why do you still live with your brother? Why don't you want to live with me? Da-da-da. And I try and explain to them that, one, I don't think I can be my most competitive without him. Two, I'm most emotionally stable with him. I like the idea. I'm most competitive with him. I'm my best version of me. If it doesn't matter if I have to go into a fight, doesn't matter if I have to run a business, I'm better with Tristan by my side than I would be by myself. And three, my ideal family life, even my ideal family, the way I live my life now, is very much more like a clan than a nuclear family. I like me, my girl, my kids, Tristan, his girl, his kids, my cousin, his girl, his kids. I like this idea of lots of people. I like that. I like that feeling. So girls say to me, well, you don't want a family. Like, no, I want a family bigger than you want. I just don't want to just sit with you. I want a lot of people around me, and I think it's better for that, and I think it's better for the children especially also. I think they enjoy it more. But yeah, I've got the best brother on the planet. I truly do. And this is why I'm saying some of our best days of our lives are in jail.
If I feel extremely happy and excited, I'm going to use that as motivation or energy to do amazing things and do good and work hard. If I feel absolutely depressed and distraught, I'm going to use that as endless energy and motivation to do amazing things and work hard. It doesn't matter what you give me. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted and transferred. It doesn't matter what fuel you give me. If you give me diesel, petrol, kerosene, vodka, doesn't matter what you put inside of my engine.
Hard work is going to come out.
Absolutely.
Success.
That's all I know how to do. Yeah. That's all I know how to do. It doesn't matter what fuel you put in my engine. My engine only knows how to do one thing, and that is succeed. That's all I know how to do.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you feed me with. I'm going to be massively successful regardless.
Yeah.
Doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
I was now the oldest man alive in the Tate family. I had to look after my mother and my siblings and take care of people. I had to make a choice. Do I fly back to America and spend money and time and go to this funeral and, waste a few weeks? Or do I sit here and just focus on this enterprise and make sure that it cannot fail? And we talked earlier about speed. Most people go, it's only 2 weeks. It's only a week. It's only a week. People who say it's only a week are the people who are broke.
They don't value time.
That's the reason you're all poor, because you say it's only a week. So, it's tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it later. It's only an hour. It's only a day. It's only a minute. You are competing against people like me. We do not waste a second.
I just personally could never sleep at night knowing, I got 100 million in property, I'm good. Because I'd be like, I don't have anything. I have to be quiet.
and I have to be careful. And if they don't like me, they'll get me. That to me doesn't feel like ownership. Ownership is they can't take that off of me. That's true ownership. So you don't own property. It's a scam. It's a lie. Let me give you a quick story. I bought an Aston Martin DBS 3 months ago. I pulled up outside the hotel. I bought it in London. I pulled up at the hotel. I parked in the double yellow. I left it there. Traffic warden was right there. So I'm going to give you a ticket. And I said, bro, have you ever seen James Bond look for parking? Give me a fucking ticket. Don't care. Put a ticket on it. Went in the hotel. Stayed in the hotel come on, I'm busy. Stayed in the hotel for 4 days. Ticket. It came out to a window. It was on my Instagram before they deleted it. A window of tickets. Now, how do they enforce those tickets? Well, we said they'll take your home off you, right? I don't own anything. I don't even own that car. And the car's not in the country anymore. It's sitting in my house in Bulgaria. So now what the fuck are you gonna do? So I got thousands of pounds of parking tickets, and guess what happened? Nothing. Zero. Because I don't play by the stupid rules the Matrix tells me to play by. If I was Joe Schmo and I ignored them, I would lose my home. But me, I could turn up, tell them to get fucked, and do whatever I want. And what you'll actually learn is that much like parking tickets, pretty much all laws on Earth and all rules on Earth have there's an economic level to which you must adhere, and there's an economic level to which you don't have to adhere. Anything that's financial in and of itself is basically saying it's okay for rich people to do anyway. Let's say I agreed to pay the fine. Cool. I didn't have to look for parking. I paid $3,000. That's worth 5 minutes of my time. So it's basically saying it's okay for a price. So it's okay for rich people. It's not okay for poor people. Whenever there's a fine as a punishment, they're basically saying no poors, no brokies, or rich people can do it. Look at banks. They make billions of dollars breaking the rules and pay $1 million fine. It's okay for the rich. Not allowed to do it for poor. You do that. If you pull off some fraud as a brokey, guess what happens? Jail time. Do the bankers go to jail? Fucking never. This is the whole way the whole entire world works. So, extrapolating that out, yes, at a certain economic level, there are things you can do and Aikido you can pull that make property fantastic. But as a brokey, bullshit. That's the point.
I think a man should have absolutely no interest in whether he's actually happy or not. If I wake up and I'm unhappy, I will do the exact same things as if I am happy. I will go to the gym the same. I will work the same. How I feel has no impact on how I live my life. I don't think happiness as an index is a healthy view for a man to have on life success. I think a man's role on this planet is also another thing that we need to redefine to some degree, right? I think a man's role on this planet has changed, but from the dawn of human time, a man's role has always been the capability for violence. This is what men were, right? When I look at the world, I look at it from a societal perspective and I look at it from an animalistic perspective. Society has told us to be certain ways, and then our animal instinct tells us to be another way. So society tells you to marry one woman and be loyal, right? And then you have me saying, men are not supposed to do that. We don't want to do that. Any man who sits there and says, I want to do that is lying. He wants to keep the woman he loves, and he wants the woman he loves to be happy. Of course. But if he could keep the woman he loves and keep her happy and have other women, he would. What? You're lying if you say that's not true, right? So from an animal perspective, a man's primary role was the capability for violence. We went to war, we conquered stuff, we built stuff, we conquered. That's what men did, we conquered. To this day, still now, if you look at men, many of them are still trying to conquer the world one way or another. Some men are born with something else inside of them, with a fire inside of them, which cannot be extinguished by beans on toast, TV at night, 9 to 5, sitting around with your wife. I know me as an individual, I could not be satisfied with that. That doesn't mean I look down on the people who are. Absolutely, congratulations. But my time on the planet, I guarantee, will be more eventful. I will die with more stories. I would have made a bigger ripple in space-time because I refuse to comply with just the average, this is okay, you'll be happy with this, take it. There's always been that class of person. Even since the dawn of time, there's been the normal guy, and then there's been the dude who insists on conquering the world. There's been Napoleon who says, no, fuck you. I'm taking this and this and this. It depends what you're born with, right? I think one of the biggest mistakes a man can make is to judge his life. Let me reword this. I think a man should have absolutely no interest in whether he's actually happy or not. If I wake up and I'm unhappy, I will do the exact same things as if I am happy. I will go to the gym the same. I will work the same. How I feel has no impact on how I live my life. I don't think happiness as an index is a healthy view for a man to have on life success. But I think for a man, if you're waking up and going, am I happy, am I not, you're looking at life wrong. I think of a man, if you put happiness if you move it down the scale, right, and you start looking at, am I successful? Am I competent? You know, am I achieving things? Am I respected? If you start to look at these indicators of your life, you're going to end up being happier without actually analyzing if you're happy or not. So for me, I understood very, very well that $500,000 a month is good, but $1 million a month is better. And I also very, very much understood that as soon as you stop pushing forward, as soon as you go stagnant, you're dying, right? As soon as you stay in one place, you're slowly on the way down, right? If your podcast, if your channel now were to stagnate in views, you'd be worried. That's effectively dying. It has to grow at all times. So every business has to work. So for me, I was under enormous pressure. I didn't think, I have plenty of money now. It was the complete opposite. I wanted to work harder, more hours. I found the tap. Bro, if there was a golden tap that unlimited money, and you had buckets, and you took one bucket of money, would you just take that bucket, or would you run back and get another bucket and run back and run? I couldn't stop. I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up to go piss at 3 a.m, take a piss, and by the time I finished pissing, I'd be like, I've slept 3 hours, that's enough. And wake the chicks up and put them back online. I couldn't get out of my brain because I saw that I'd replaced fighting, which I loved, with this. And this was my chance to escape the matrix. Bro, this has been inside of me since as early as I can remember. I remember walking to sixth form college. I was 16 or 17 with my 4 friends, and a Ferrari burnt past us. And I said to my boys, I was like, man, how'd that guy get that car? And they're like, don't know. I was like, doesn't that annoy you? I'm like, why would it annoy me? Because we're going to school. Our parents are on council estates. Like, we're trying to scrape 20 pounds a week to eat. This dude has 400 grand for a car. Doesn't that aggravate you? Doesn't that show you that there's something about the world you do not understand? That you're missing something? And they're all like, not really. And they're all the dudes who are right now at home, 9 to 5, couple blowjobs, da-da-da. I was never that guy. I was pissed off for weeks because I saw some dude in his Ferrari. Do you understand? I was like, no, I have to. So now when I push my Ferrari, I'm like, this is the full circle. This is the universe giving me what I've always been manifesting. Does that make sense? Yeah. So now when people say, Andrew, why do you have 17 supercars? Because I have 17. I have every brand you can fucking name. I have 17 cars. I have over $10 million of cars. But because it was a car, these cars used to piss me off. So now I have to have them all. I don't even drive them. I have to have them. I'm trying to conquer the earth, my friend. Maybe I'm crazy, but this is what I'm trying to do. It's what I've always been trying to do. So I've never been satisfied. To this day, I'm making more money now than I was making in my cam days. I'm still not happy. But I don't judge my life on happiness. I don't look at it that way. I look at all the other human metrics and say, where am I failing? Am I in good shape? Yeah. Am I rich? Yeah. Do I have good friends, good connections? Yeah. Do I do whatever I want? Am I free? Tick, 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 tick. Well, fuck it then. Then life's fine. You know, I'm happy every day, right? Let's say happiness is a state. If you're not distraught, then you're happy. And I mean that like 3 or 4 times in your life, like a family member is going to die, or something really bad's going to happen, and you're going to be devastated. And when you're distraught, you can't even talk. Like, you know, when you're genuinely heartbroken, you can't even speak. You can't even talk. You just want to be left alone, and you can't talk. Those days are coming for all of us. Either we're going to die, or someone we love's going to die. Those days are coming. This is guaranteed. So, until those days come, I'm happy. I'm very binary. Yes or no, 1 or 0. Unless I'm distraught, I'm happy. Now, happiness can be a sliding scale, right? I can be less happy some days than others, but I'm still happy because I'm not distraught. There's a really interesting show I watched a long time ago, and it was a documentary about colors. And it was saying they found this tribe in Africa, and in the tribe in Africa, they had different names for the colors than we have. And they got 2 different shades of blue, which were basically identical. Like blue, one kind of blue, another kind of blue, basically identical. And to them, they were completely different colors. But then they put like blue and yellow, and they couldn't tell the difference. They couldn't tell the difference because the blue and the yellow had one name, and these 2 kinds of blues had a different name. What they were trying to say is, if your brain is associated a name with something, it's very hard to work out the difference between the 2 things that have the same name. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I'm never unhappy. I'm happy always. Do you understand what I mean? If I'm not distraught, I'm happy. So I never wake up and go, oh, I'm unhappy today. I wake up and go, oh, I'm a little bit less happy today, but I'm happy. I've labeled myself as happy. I've labeled myself as lucky. I'm labeled these things, and I truly believe them. I will pass any lie detector test today that I'm the most content, happy man in the world, because that's what I've decided. That's what I've labeled myself as. I talk to people all the time like, oh, I'm unhappy, I'm depressed, and I'm like, stop saying it. You're saying it. You speak. Yeah. Why are you saying it? You're happy, my friend, because you're talking. If you're truly unhappy, you don't talk. Think of the last time you lost a family member. The first thing you did is you sat in silence for half an hour. First, you get a phone call and you just sit there. And someone goes, what's happened? And you might give them a few words. That's unhappy. If you're running your mouth down the pub about being unhappy, you're attention seeking. That's what you're doing. So a lot of people are labeling themselves, and I absolutely refuse to take my own power away. There are so many things in the world trying to kill us. Like, you got enemies, you got people on the streets with blades, you got bacterias, fucking lions. Oh, I've got enough enemies, bro. Sharks want me dead. I've got enough enemies. Why am I going to take my own power away? And this is what people really don't yet understand. There's only one thing on the planet you actually have control over. You can't control the weather. You can't control your health. You can get a brain aneurysm or a heart attack. You can't control other people. The only thing you can actually really truly control is what you think. That's the only thing you can change in real time. You can be thinking of red and change it to blue. So why are you not controlling your own mind? It's your asset. It's your ally. It's your friend. Why would you make an enemy out of the only thing you have control over? I refuse to do that. It doesn't make sense to me. The worst thing on earth that could happen to a man could happen to me. And I guarantee you, I would still label myself happy. I'm happy because that's who I am. That's how I view myself. That's what I've decided. You have to decide what you want in life. I want to conquer the world. And if you're going to conquer the world in the modern society we live in, that's going to be a fiscal conquer. That's what you're going to do. You're going to make a bunch of money. How else are you going to conquer the world? That's what I wanted. You have to decide what you want. And it's different folks for different strokes, and it takes a lot of different kind of people to make the world go round. But if you truly want to conquer the world, you're going to end up wanting a bunch of money because that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. So you have to decide the life you want to live. You're a different man when you have no safety net. You're a different man when you have to pull it off. No, I need to. No, I literally have to pull this off. I have to roll the dice. Most men don't understand what it feels like to roll a dice and you have to get a 6. They go, what do you mean you have to? No, I have to get a 6.
Yeah.
Oh, but what if you don't? No, I have to get a 6. You're not understanding me. So that's extremely character building. And for that reason, I'm going to make sure that my children, another thing that comes with it, I took a bunch of risks that I would never be comfortable my children taking. This is the problem. You go soft, right?
Yes.
I was riding around on a motorcycle with no insurance, running from the cops.
Yeah.
I could have been splattered on the road, and I would never want my son to do that. But at the same time, I want him to be like me.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. As for my teenage son, I'm gonna try very hard to. He's gonna have problems he needs to solve. And I think if you're a young man, even if you're not my child, if you're just any man who's out there in the world today, you need to look at some problems that need solving, either for yourself or for society, and find a way to fix it. And I think that you should just adopt some problems and try and fix it. It doesn't matter what it is. You can just try and fix the litter in your area, or you can try and get a 6-pack, or whatever you want. Men are builders. The modern world, call me misogynistic, the modern world was built by men. Every building you're in was built by men. Every road you drive on was built by men. We're builders. We build things. And that's what you should be focused on. And like I said before, if you're hardworking and you build, and I think you'll do well. You can't hide away from the brutal realities of work. That's it. And while we're on the subject, that's actually where these last 2 years have been pure clown world, because I've known some people who have made a bunch of money in crypto. And I've said to them, what you've just gone through, what you've just done is once in a generation, and it's completely ruined you. Because normally, if you make, let's say, 200 grand, you have learned lessons to make that 200 grand. Yeah. You've learned marketing, you've learned sales, you've learned how to manage staff, you learn how to deal with pressure, you learn how to be on time, you've learned a bunch of things.
So you can continue it.
So you can continue. And even if you lose all the money, you retain the lessons.
100%.
What have you learned? You bought a coin, it went up. Okay, good. You have not learned a single fucking thing about how money is made, about personal development. You didn't even learn how to have a firm handshake and put on a tie. You learned nothing. You pulled it off. You made a few dollars. You've lost them now.
And now the worst thing about it is you think you're too good for work. You think you're so smart now. Oh, I made it. This is the next one. You got lucky. Now you think you're too good to actually get up and grind. You think you're just going to pull it off again, another lottery win. And you don't think you have to work very hard. And guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to be fucking broke. Because that's not the reality of the world. That clown world shit is over. All that shit is over. We're about to get into harder times than ever. If you're sitting at home and you made a bit of money with crypto and you think, don't worry, it's going to go up again soon. You're just praying for some external force. That's not self-accountability. Sitting and watching the Bitcoin price, waiting for it to go up so you have money is not self-accountability. That's prayer. Then you might as well just do the lottery numbers. All these people who made money in this clown world, a lot of them haven't learned any lessons about the reality of Earth. And it's about to get a lot harder. I can never be poor. My skill set, the people I know, my phone book, my reliability, my reputation. You could take all of my money today. I'll be a millionaire again in 2 weeks. I can call people and say, lend me 10 mil. Oh, that's Tate. I can call people. I know people. I have a place I can go. I'm good at speaking. Like once you have those lessons and once you have that network and once you have those things built, you can't go broke. You really can't. You get to a point of life where the only way you could go broke is if you become a drug addict or something ridiculous. Don't complain when the NHS are on strike and you can't get seen and I'm in a private hospital in fucking Saudi. That's your problem. You have to just make your decisions in life and live true to them. But creating a circle is ultra important. And it's not just important financially, it's also important for your entire life and your mindset as a whole. Because it's amazing, especially amongst men, we never want to be the poorest person in the room. We never want to be the weakest person in the room. You never want to be, so if you're with a group of killers, you have now this massive expectation. It's almost like societal pressure and a positive force. If I go to my friends, I can't be the weakling. If everyone does X amount of push-ups, I have to do it.
You might get dropped out.
Yes, well, you don't want to.
That's not happening.
You don't want to feel that way,
no.
Right? My team, it's not just about how we make money. It's also an entire mindset. I don't want to be the only scared one in the group. If me and my 6 closest friends are walking down the street and a couple guys came up to us with machetes, I know they wouldn't be afraid. So now I'm not afraid. Now no one's afraid. Now you're fucked.
Now the guys with the machete should be afraid.
That's right. It's like an army. It's like a gang, right? You have to have that mentality. So it's not just even about money. It's about your entire life you create. If you're a person, if you're a man and you're out here and you go, you know what? Who do I want to be? I want to be strong and rich and brave and respected. Then I need friends who are strong and rich and brave and respected. That's what you need to do. If you're going to say, oh, I want to be these things, but I hang around with this guy because we play FIFA together, then you can stay a fucking loser. And that is your decision. Stay a loser. I have no sympathy for losers. I want to make this another thing clear that ends up on TikTok and everyone cries their eyes out. I don't give a solitary fuck if you want to stay at the bottom of the societal totem pole. If I'm going to ignore how I feel day after day so I can perform, regardless of whether I'm sad, happy, pissed off, tired, if I'm going to get up and work anyway when I'm tired, how do you expect me to feel sorry for you because you didn't work when you were tired? If I don't care about my own emotions, I certainly don't give a solitary shit about yours. If you want to stay a loser, stay one. Good, it's fine. Stay a loser. I have no sympathy for you. I don't care. I was instilled with a duty for a very long time to honor my ancestors through achievement. And I was told from a very young age that the only thing your ancestors are interested in is achievement. Even to this day, when I do podcasts, people repeatedly talk about my father. If I wasn't successful, he wouldn't be spoken about anymore. He died 9 years ago. And he was a good chess player, but no one's really that interested in chess. The reason he lives on is because I'm so monumentally successful that people are interested in my origin story. He is mentioned. The reason I will live forever is because my son will be so monumentally successful that they'll talk about how he could have been such a perfect specimen of man, how he was raised, and they will mention me. If you give a shit about your ancestry, and if you give a fuck about your family, and you're not a selfish person, and you want them to exist out in the ether for reality, for the eternity of reality, it is your duty to be successful. So if you love your family, and you love your last name, and you're proud of yourself, then you have a duty to be massively monumentally successful, to show homage to your ancestors. I find it amazing there are people out here today who are going to sit and say, oh, I'm sad, I'm too depressed, I don't want to work hard. Do you understand that only 200 years ago, there were peasants out working a field, starving, surviving the Black Death, surviving the plague, struggling to exist just to reproduce so that 200 years later, you can be the end of their bloodline, for you to sit on your ass and do fucking nothing. Like, you're a fuck up. You're fucking up your entire bloodline of your entire ancestry. You owe these people things. They went through hell for you to exist. You have a debt. You have a duty to pay. You have to be the best possible version of yourself. And the same to God. God loves people who try. God loves people who work hard. It's amazing if you try your very best all the time, what God will give you. He'll give it to you, anything you want, if you actually try. Not convincing yourself you try, actually try. They're different things. But yeah, I was instilled with this because from a young age, my dad said, you're a Tate, and Tates are the greatest people on the face of the planet, and there's gonna be a day I'm not here anymore, and they're gonna talk about me because of how fantastic you are. So go do your fucking job. A lot of people don't have the ability to understand the compounding effect of doing the right thing time after time. Even if you start a new business and you don't know what to do. I guarantee if you're always on time, if you're a builder and you're always on time, take the basic shit. Just be on time.
Yeah.
Over time, you may think, oh, I was just on time, no one notices. Trust me, across 10 years, that's the difference between being a successful builder and not being a successful.